Alrighty, you guys, what's going on? So today in this video, I got my new shirt, my ACDC shirt. Anyway, this video I'm going to be talking about baits, obviously. Now, this is a topic that I actually really like to talk about, and I think this is going to be one of my more favorite videos I make this month, because it is a very good video, not only for this time of the year, you know, the pre-spawn stage, but it's also just an all-around good video for you guys to learn from. Now, what this video is basically about is getting baits that are neutral. And what I mean by that is a bait that is both a shad imitator and a bluegill imitator. Now, you might get confused by that sometimes, but what I mean is, like, let's say this frog, for example. It's not really a frog, but you know what I mean. It's a hollow body, a little bluegill shad kind of bait, right? Now, if you notice, it's colored like a bluegill. It's shaped like a bluegill, but if you look at the color, it's kind of light. It's a light color. So it kind of also looks like a shad, right? So if you were to take this when the bass are schooling on shad, maybe if they're schooling in a little bit of grass, this thing would be killer. Why? It's because it's a bluegill bait, right? I mean, you wouldn't think that a bluegill bait when they're schooling on shad would work so well. But if you look at this, I just dropped it again. But if you look at this bait, it does look a little bit like a shad, right? That's why I picked it up, because it is a bluegill and a shad bait all in one. So if you look at that, you know, it has the bluegill color, you know, it has the darker, has a little bit of bluish brown on it, and it has, you know, the little opercular flap. I think that's how you say it. I might be saying it wrong. But it also has kind of a white, kind of a silvery look on it as well. So it kind of is a shad bait. This is an H2O Express. It's basically the, what is it called? The Academy Sports and Outdoor brand lures. And, you know, you can also get these on Tackle Warehouse as well. Not this exact brand, but you can get a different brand on a Tackle Warehouse. I can't remember the name of it, though. Also, a jerkbait. I don't fish jerkbaits very much, but I couldn't really find a crankbait that I had in there that looks, you know, this one here looks perfect for this video. Now, if you look at this, it has, you know, this jerkbait has some shine on the bottom, right? It has a lot of flash look to it. But if you look on the back, it has these bars and kind of a greenish black color. That there makes it look like a bluegill, right? And then the bottom looks like a shad. There you go. That's basically what I'm talking about. A neutral bait. Now, these are all baits except for this big one here. I'm just going to talk about that one later. But these are all baits that if you were going to pick up one, these are going to be the colors that I would choose. Just because they are neutral baits. Because you can, you know, you don't have to buy a bluegill imitator and a shad imitator. You can get one bait that looks just like both. That there is a Lunker Hunt jerkbait. I actually got it in a mystery tackle box like, I think a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. But I don't know if they actually sell these like on the market to anybody. I think they might have been a mystery tackle box exclusive, but it's mainly just an example. Also, before I get any farther in this video, the shoutouts in this video go to Rip and Tip Fishing. I think, or it's either Rip and Tip Fishing or Rip and Tip Outdoors. I will leave a link to their channel in the description. The other shout out goes to a good friend of mine. If I can say the name right, it's kind of a long one. Hookset Nation Midwest Launch Mob, I think is how you say the name. I might have got it wrong. If I did, I apologize, because I do have a very bad memory. But anyway, go check out their channels. Their channels will either be in the links in the description or in the comments, like sometimes they are. Okay, back to the video. Next is soft plastic baits, right? You mean everybody loves fishing soft plastic baits. This one here is a pretty cool bait. It is a Strike King Rage Tail. If I can remember right, it's called the Shell Cracker. But yeah, it's basically a bluegill imitating bait, right? It looks like a bluegill. You know, it has the little fins as a bluegill does. Has the Rage Tail on it. But if you look at this color, it has the brown kind of a bluegill color here. But if you look at this side where the hook is, it's like a white. I wanted that color specifically for that. Now this color is called KVD Magic, and honestly I think the only reason they call it that is because it's a neutral color. I actually think that Kevin Van Dam noticed that it was a neutral color. You know, it looked like a bluegill on this side and it kind of looks like a shad on this side. So I think that is one of the reasons they called it just KVD Magic. I could be completely wrong. There might be a whole different reason for it, but I believe that's why they called it that instead of like blue pearl flash or something like that. I think that's why they called it that, because it is kind of a shad and bluegill imitator. Next is two more soft plastic baits. These are both swim baits, and these are both really cool colors. Now this one here, I just bought these, but I really got to thinking when I made my video yesterday. I actually talked about this video while talking about the swim bait, and it is a very good neutral color. Now the color itself is called Shiner. This is a Reaction Innovations Little Dipper. It's a pretty small swim bait. No, it's not as small as the little Rage Swimmer, but it is a pretty small swim bait. So why is it neutral? Well, it's got the brownish green on top, and it's got the white and silver on the bottom. So it basically looks like a little bluegill and a shad. So, I mean, if you put this on an Alabama rig, on the back of a swim jig, either one would work. I mean, if you're going to fish a bluegill colored swim jig, this would still work. If you're going to fish a shad colored swim jig, I think this would still work. So it's kind of a neutral bait. It would look good on both a shad colored spinnerbait, swim jig, chatterbait, or a bluegill color one. I think it would just look really good on it. And yeah, that color there is actually called Shiner. I don't know why they called it Shiner, because it is more of a bluegill and shad color, but you know, whatever. Next is the Strike King Rage Swimmer. This one here is the little one. Now you can get the all the way up to the 4.75. This one's the 2.75. It is quite small. It's one of the small, I think it's actually the smallest swim bait I have, besides those little bitty micro minnows. Now, why this looks like a bluegill shad bait. Honestly, it doesn't look like either, right? I mean, it kind of does look like a shad, and it kind of does look like a minnow, but that's, just like I said a second ago, that's why I wanted it, because it looks like a little bitty minnow. If you've ever seen a baby bluegill, like if you're going to get this size, especially get that color, but if you've ever seen a little baby bluegill about maybe 1.5 to 2 inches long, they are basically colorless. I started noticing this in the past, like from 2017 into this year. You know, after you look at little baby bluegill, they're basically colorless. They're almost like a tan color, and they almost have no features other than the little opercular flap. Still, I might be saying that wrong. But they're basically colorless. And what I liked about this color, and there's another color called Ghost Shad, and I think that would work really well as well. But if you look at this color, it's basically kind of a clearish color, and it looks like a little minnow, right? So I think that this one here would be a great color, especially for this size. Now you can get this size and this color, or this color, in all the way from 3.75 and 4.75 and a little 2.75 like I have here. But if you are going to get this color, I do suggest in this size, because it is a very good little minnow imitator. And if you're taking this and you see them bass are keying in on a small little 2-inch shad, this here would work super duper well. Alright, and last, but definitely not least, is the big baits. Now, everybody knows big baits catch big fish, right? And you have to have a shad and a bluegill imitating bait. This one here is one of my favorite colors, just because it is a shad and bluegill imitating bait. And that is the Warden Colored 168 S-Waver. Now, if you are going to get the S-Waver in this color, I think that the 120 would look really cool in this color. I just haven't bought one yet. I actually have 3 other S-Wavers, I think. I have 3 other S-Wavers. 2 of them have not even hit the water yet, so I'm actually really excited. This one here, though, you know, you can tell it's got like the white on the belly and it's got the dark color on the back. That's mainly the 2 combinations of a good neutral color bait. It's got the darker colors on this side, and then on the lighter side it's got like the white color, yellow color, whatever. This here could mimic a bluegill and a shad very well. I think if you're faced with a situation where you don't know what the bluegill or what the bass are eating, but you do know that there's some big bass in the water, I think that this here would work really well. And that's kind of a little bit of a segue into the final part of this video. Is I've been in those situations, and I'm sure that at some point you have or you will be in those situations. Is you've been in those situations where you know the bass are eating bait fish because you did catch one and it had sharp teeth. Now, if they had like mash teeth where it's basically smooth, you'd know that they're eating crawfish. But these fish here had basically dog teeth. I mean, they had werewolf teeth. Mean, sharp teeth on them that tear up your thumb when you lip them. I've always seen that when I'm fishing like a fluke or a swim bait. You see that, right? Now, if you're fishing a jig, it's different. And a lot of people know that. And I don't know how many people actually consider that or actually pay attention to that, but it's actually a really good indicator. Anyway, sorry about that. Kind of got off track. But anyway, if you've ever been in those situations where you know the bass are just blowing up on bait fish, but you are too far away, like if you're bank fishing and you can't see, but you can cast to them, the best thing to do is to get one of these. Let me grab the right one. This here, a little bitty swim bait like this, a neutral color, and just chuck it out there to them. Now you can, if you know there's big fish, grab this thing. You can do that as well. But if you're in an area where you know that there could be shad, there could be bluegill, if you're at a new pond and you just see them busting out there in the middle of it, then grab a little neutral colored bait and chuck it out there, because either way, if they're eating bluegill, you're going to catch them. If they're eating shad, you can still catch them as well. Neutral colored baits are one of my favorite baits, especially when you're going to a new water, because if you go to brand new water you've never fished before and you just throw shad baits and then come to find out there's no shad in this water at all, you kind of feel stupid. So if you start off throwing neutral colored baits, you can wreck the bass for sure. Now, that's not saying go out there and only throw these neutral colored baits. I mean, I love to throw big white chatterbaits and swim baits and all that. But this is just what I usually do. If I'm going to a new water, I always have a little swim bait like this or like this one tied on, just because, you don't know how big the bait fish is. You don't know what color the bait fish is. You don't know what kind of bait fish it is. I mean, if they're eating shad, you have that covered. If you're eating bluegill, you have that covered. So I hope you guys like this video. If you do, smash the like button. Make sure you comment and subscribe if you haven't already. Comment down below what your favorite bluegill and your favorite shad bait are. I'm curious of what you guys think are better baits. So thanks for watching, and bye.